First things first, this video is a bit of a contradiction in and of itself. The Foundation doesn't destroy or kill anomalies, it contains them. Secure, contain, protect, it's in the acronym. So by talking about the ones that are probably better off dead, we're flying in the face of the founding principles of the Foundation. But hey, these things are muy dangerous. And as I'm sure the Foundation knows, I'd rather these things be, well, not around. From killer food trucks to teleporting pocket dimension using old men, there are plenty of anomalies that are A, hard to contain, and B, cause a lot of harm. Here's a few we'd rather the Foundation just dealt with already. Hello horror heads, and welcome back to the scariest channel on YouTube, Top 5 Scary Videos. I'm your horror host, Keegan Hughes, and today we're going to be counting down the top 5 SCP monsters too dangerous to be kept alive. Before we get going, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more inglorious indescribables. Perfect. Let's begin. Coming in at number 5, we've got SCP-682. The classic, the one nobody ever seems to stop referencing, the primetime, all-hating lunatic lizard itself, SCP-682. Yeah, I'd 100% like this thing to cease living, like, right now. From massacring farmers to somehow generating laughter waves under the influence of a certain squishy fellow, there is just zero way to keep 682 safe. And by that I do mean keep us safe from 682. This large reptile-like creature is extremely intelligent and capable of complex communication. Will it talk to us though? No, because it hates all life, pretty indiscriminately. Add this to the high strength, speed, and reflexes it possesses, and you have some real trouble brewing. All of this wouldn't be too big a deal if we could just zap it out of existence, or put it in a strength-sapping situation, right? Well, here's the thing. Its body is always changing. Any material it consumes or sheds alters its body, either adding or subtracting, and it will eat just about anything. This translates to some insane regenerative abilities. The Foundation's response to this was basically put 682 into a big vat of acid and let it use up resources regenerating. It's been seen moving and speaking with over 80% of its body missing. My goodness. 682 wants to destroy everything and will seize every possible opportunity to do so. In response to this, the Foundation has attempted other methods of containing and possibly destroying it, but with no success. Everything from introducing it to other dangerous SCPs to dropping it from a plane at altitude has come up short. Zip. Zilch. Nada. And the longer it lives, the more likely it is to escape and cause problems. Problems that I don't want to deal with. Coming in at number 4, we get SCP-2075. You wouldn't think a 63-year-old man would be too big of a problem. What's he got left in the tank? 20, 30 years? Well, 2075 actually only appears 63. And there's more than just one man involved. I'll get there in a second. When the Foundation first snagged 2075, they tossed him in a cell and made sure nobody made contact. He's capable of exhaling a microbial pathogen capable of altering people's neurological systems. The alterations make it possible for him to control them as an extension of his own body, remotely, from anywhere. And this control will be kept until the body is destroyed. Thankfully, he can control only one body at a time, but still, all this control over flesh and blood, does it sound familiar to anyone? Bueller? Bueller? That's right, he's involved with the Karsists, of course. Or the Sarkics, I guess. Sarkic Karsist cults. Gosh. 2075 claims to have been touched by Ion at some point over the past few hundred years or so, and as such was given his miraculous people-controlling powers. Some other Karsists see him as a witch, some as a savior. Either way, that's a dangerous power for a cult-associated lunatic to have. As it turns out, it's more dangerous than the Foundation accounted for. It seems as if 2075 is actually a consciousness occupying a heretofore unknown number of hosts, and had the Foundation fooled about the extent of its abilities. Foundation personnel were even taken over without their explicit knowledge. 2 members with a decades-long spotless record suddenly turned one day. Huh. It probably would have been better if the Foundation just incinerated the old dude outright when they found him. That's what they were doing with people he'd infected. In the long run, it wouldn't make much of a difference though, considering how many other bodies were being controlled, but at least they wouldn't have given 2075 insight into their operation. Coming in at number 3, we've got SCP-3984. The end of death. I guess this is a weird one to have on a list about killing things. Still, we definitely don't want everyone being kept alive indefinitely. That's just not how life works. 3984 is a phenomenon in which any living organism in the Kingdom Animalia, including humans, are unable to die. Like, ever. And in the universe that 3984 exists in, if this is confusing, go look up the End of Death Hub, all life forms are indeed under these effects. The mortality rate dropped to 0, and people were living through even the most grievous injuries. People not dying is a major threat to societal structure. The world can't support exponentially expanding populations. As such, the Foundation needs to find a way to, well, stop keeping things alive. for our own good. A bunch of tests were done to find the limits of the life-lengthening phenomenon, and it seems that conventional immortality is indeed the correct answer. People under the effects have survived asphyxiation, exsanguination, decapitation, poisoning, you name it. The violence seems to affect the individual as it would prior to end of death, with bodies ceasing movement, but once the external injurious force is removed, they recover. It's not perfect, and the injuries remain very real, but death never comes. Some folks have ended up brain dead or numb, but they are still alive. One brain was dissolved down to nothing in a solution of sorts and still functioned as a brain would. Scientists were unable to determine consciousness, but it was definitely still acting as if it were alive. Nobody wants to live forever, especially in a world where everyone does. Or if you're a dissolved brain in a jar. Coming in at number 2, we've got SCP-2845. Now we're getting into some tricky territory. Being so powerful we couldn't prevent them from living if we tried, but so dangerous and weirdly somehow controllable that we have to imagine it. First up is 2845, the godlike stag. This big, unexplainable beast looks like the king of the forest, big horns and all. Surrounded by a ring of ice particles and spheres of metallic hydrogen, it can instantaneously transmute and reconstruct matter. As a result, it is basically resistant to physical damage and can attack any threat within a 10-kilometer radius. It calls down pillars and cones of transmuted matter and just absolutely claps any threat, aggressor, or annoyance. Sheesh, overpowered, huh? For some reason, it also likes to transmute humans into hexagonal, fleshy columns that continue to live, albeit with altered brain activity. Of course, it's not actually looking to cause a bunch of trouble. Not that we'd understand if it was. This is a being so powerful we can never hope to understand its inner machinations. Nor could it understand us. We are just too small for it to really get. This has been used to the Foundation's advantage. 2845 is actually held in place by an insanely arcane and complicated ritual. The ritual doesn't actually do anything, but they've somehow convinced this stag that it does. Apparently words are very powerful to a god. Realistically, it could escape at any moment if it chose to, and we'd be powerless to stop it. But it won't choose to do so because of the ritual. It just sort of works, okay? The process is ridiculous, complicated, and expensive, but it must be kept up in order to keep the being contained. If there was a way to kill it, a lot of time and effort could be saved, but hey, not everything's that simple. And finally, at number 1, we've got SCP-3812. So how do you stop a being that can alter reality? Like, seriously, they can just will you away or change your perception of the world so that you don't even think they exist. Which is why 3812 is way too dangerous to be kept alive. But there's not much that anybody can do about it at this point. Originally known as a man named Sam Hoswell, 3812 rose from its grave and disappeared. It was brought to the Foundation's attention after destroying an entire apartment complex in Poland and has since become very difficult to track. This being has exhibited signs of schizophrenia in the past, including paranoia, dysphoria, the inability to properly perceive its surroundings, hearing voices that aren't there, and experiencing stimuli that don't exist. These symptoms were manageable at first, but have since worsened. And there probably isn't a situation out there that gets any worse than an omnipotent reality bender with absolutely zero grasp on reality. Yikes. In being unable to accurately perceive the world around it, 3812 will alter reality in order to diminish the discrepancy between its perception and the way that the world actually is. It's impossible to know how often reality's been changed, only how often it's been done so uncleanly, and that's when it leaves evidence behind. These traits make it impossible to contain, as it can always remove whatever is containing it or just simply move itself elsewhere. Over time, 3812 became less humanoid, manifesting in all sorts of shapes and sizes. As this happened, it also began causing anomalous effects on local reality. Random, violent outbursts that dramatically shift or damage local space and time have been reported, which could become largely disastrous if not contained. The doctor supervising 3812 believes it to be the most dangerous anomaly on Earth, and potentially the whole universe. See, no equipment that they have can detect it, throwing off all previous estimates about the measurement of reality. It's likely that it exists in a way that we could never understand or measure. And it's also caused an XK class scenario before, become a star, and then wipe the memory of everyone save for a few Foundation bigwigs. Holy smokes. Someone get the Star Destroyer. Yeah, these exist. Not ideal. What'd you think of the list? Dangerous enough for you? Even you folks with the middle name Danger? What is the one SCP you'd rather see eliminated? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more special ones from the top 5 scary creepypastas you need to read. Slimy Gaming says, the Russian sleep experiment guys look like SCP-096. I mean, I'd be shy too if I was forced to live in my own filth and not sleep for weeks. Angel Killer 59 says, I was writing a creepypasta until my aunt removed it from her computer. You should get started again. Maybe do it hard copy until you know you can back up the files. And maybe your aunt should be a character who gets her comeuppance. Helix Jovian asks, is that a Toronto International Film Festival poster? Yes, it is. I actually did some documentary events during TIFF last year. Got a couple flicks too. Darkball31 says, I love creepypastas and not creepy pastas. When I see creepypasta, I think of Italians making pasta of monsters. Watch what you say. The flying spaghetti monster is always watching. And Ronald Johnson asks, how do you know you're not trapped in a chamber of experimental gas? Good question. I don't think you can know for sure. Isn't that a fun thought experiment? That's all the time we have for today. Before I stick a fork in an outlet, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more heinous hellions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.